for those that don't know, this man on our screen today debuted in no less than Full Metal Jacket, was directed by Stanley Kubrick. That's a hell of a way to make a film debut and a hell of a performance and a character to bring to life.
Mm.
One specific I was just curious about that came to mind was the so-called Kubrick Stare, which
Mm.
which repeats in some of his films, whether you're thinking of Nicholson in The Shining, Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange, and yes, for Pyle in Full Metal Jacket. Is that
Yeah.
something that was consciously like, I want you to kind of put your head in this position towards camera, or does that just happen by happenstance?
No, no, he's like, I remember the first time we did it, he didn't he didn't reference anything. He didn't reference like any other movie or anything like that he had done.
Right.
But I was seeing all his movies, so he didn't have to reference them. And he also knew that I'd seen all his movies, because we had plenty of conversations um, about whatever. We used to go over his house on weekends, Matthew and I, and hang out. He'd show us. He had these big projectors. He would thread the films himself and show us these movies and rethread the projector each time the reel ran out. Anyway, so he knew, and he would. I remember the first time it was during. It was when we were sitting out on benches out on the field, and I had like a cloth to cool me down over my head, and I was just sort of staring out into nowhere while he was talking about uh, uh, Lee Harvey Oswald, the drill instructor. Yeah, and I'm like, once I got his direction to like lean down a tiny bit to stare upwards a little bit, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I get it. Yeah. So it was basically I just used I had already set up what we call, I don't want to get too far in the weeds with this because it's kind of boring for people, but in method acting is called an effective memory, which is an event you bring up in your life and you
Mhm.
speak the author's words through that, or you do the actions that needed to be done through that emotional event in your life. And so I would just add that to the stare so that I had, so that my mind was going on. You could see it because you can in film, as you know, you can see an actor thinking.
Right.
So that was important for me. But yeah, basically, but not no nothing was spoken about it. Just, hey, do this now, and I'm like, okay, Stanley Kubrick, sure.